receptor tyrosine kinase, we are continuing with our theme of signal transduction. So these are another type of receptors, okay, and they're characterized by you know, three domains. One is called as a ligand binding domain. Second is called as transmembrane domain. And third one is called as cytoplasmic domain. Three different domains are there. Let me draw a picture for you. So let's say this is the plasma membrane, lipid bilayer. So you have a ligand binding domain like this. Then there is a transmembrane domain which passes through the lipid bilayer, and then there is a cytoplasmic domain like this. So this is a ligand binding domain. This is transmembrane domain because it is going through the lipid bilayer of the membrane, and this is the cytoplasmic domain, right? What is the ligand here? The ligand is growth factors. Growth factors. So there are a variety of growth factors which are available in our body, which are available in our cells. Okay, so when they bind to their respective receptors, please understand there are a variety of growth factors in our body. So when they bind to their respective receptors, there is a ligand binding site here. So they will come and specifically they will come to their specific receptors and they will bind over here. So once they bind, so these receptors, they are different from the other receptors that we have studied under this particular signal transduction theme. These receptors are different than other receptors that we have studied. And what way they are different? That they are enzymes also. They are enzymes also. They are enzyme themselves. Okay, this cytoplasmic domain, it is also the catalytic domain. Catalytic domain. And what kind of catalytic activity it has? It has got a tyrosine kinase activity. Please remember the difference. The receptors that we have studied so far, whether it is opsin, whether it is, you know, chemotactic receptors, they were not having enzymatic activity. But these receptors, they are not only receptors, but they have enzymatic activity as well. So this is one characteristic which is different from other receptors under the signal transduction theme that we are studying. Okay, so this cytoplasmic domain has got catalytic activity. What kind of catalytic activity? It has got a tyrosine kinase activity. Tyrosine kinase activity, right? So once a growth factor binds to the receptor, to a specific receptor, what does it do? It activates the tyrosine kinase activity in the catalytic domain. Tyrosine kinase activity is latent, it is inactive, but as soon as that growth factor binds, this tyrosine kinase gets activated, okay, because of phosphorylation, autophosphorylation at several tyrosine residues in the cytoplasmic domain. There are several tyrosine residues which will undergo phosphorylation. About 5 of them are there, which will undergo phosphorylation. This phosphorylated tyrosine, okay, this activated catalytic domain, the activated tyrosine kinase in turn activate target proteins and this activated target protein in turn, you know, are responsible for cell differentiation and cell growth. They will mediate cell differentiation and cell growth. So that is what is the job of the growth factors, that they are meant for cell differentiation and cell growth. But their action is mediated in this particular way. They will come and bind to their specific receptors, then they will activate the tyrosine kinase activity in the receptor itself in the catalytic domain. This activation is done by phosphorylating specific tyrosine residues. There are about 5 of them in the cytoplasmic domain. So once activated, this tyrosine kinase then will activate target proteins by phosphorylating them. And those phosphorylated target proteins, those activated target proteins in turn will catalyze, will mediate cell differentiation and cell growth, right? Now let us understand what are the different types of growth factors are there. So there are 4 types of growth factors identified so far. And what are those 4 types of growth factors? The first one is called as epidermal growth factor. In short, it is also called as EGF. The second one is called as insulin growth factor. The third one is called as platelet derived growth factor. And the fourth one is called as fibroblast derived growth factor. Okay, so 4 types of growth factors have been identified. Please remember, please understand what I'm trying to convey across, and I'm repeating once again that these growth factors, 4 different types of growth factors, they're responsible for what? They're responsible for cell differentiation and growth. And how is their action mediated? Their action is mediated in this particular way, that they will be binding to their specific receptors. Then they will be activating the tyrosine kinase activity in the catalytic, in the cytoplasmic domain of the receptor itself. In this particular way, this receptor is different from other receptors that we have studied, that it has got its own, it is an enzyme as well. It has got an enzymatic activity as well. So how does that activation takes place? Activation takes place by phosphorylation, autophosphorylation of specific tyrosine residues. There are about 5 of them which will get phosphorylated in the cytoplasmic domain. So this phosphorylated tyrosine kinase, which is active now, will then phosphorylate specific target proteins, and these target proteins in turn will mediate cell differentiation and cell growth. Okay, so if there are 4 types of growth factors, obviously we need to have 4 different types of receptors. Okay, so we do have 4 types of receptors. Let us understand one by one. There are 4 different receptor tyrosine kinase. Because there are 4 types of growth factors, so we need a specific receptor for each one of them. So there are 4 different types of receptor tyrosine kinases. They are classified as type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4. Type 1 identifies EGF, epidermal growth factor. Type 2 binds to insulin growth factor. Type 3, it binds to platelet derived growth factor. And type 4, it is specific for fibroblast derived growth factor. Okay, so each receptor, type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4 is specific for one particular type of growth factor. Type 1, the one which has been very nicely understood, very deeply studied, is type 1, epidermal growth factor receptor binding to epidermal growth factor. Type 2 is insulin growth factor receptor. Type 3 is platelet derived growth factor receptor. Okay, and type 4 is fibroblast derived growth factor receptor, right? Of these, type 1, type 3, and type 4, these are monomers. Monomers means they are made up of single polypeptide. Whereas type 2 is dimer. It is made up of 2 alpha chain and 2 beta chain. Okay, and all of them have a common structural features. That is, each one of them have a ligand binding domain. Each one of them will have a transmembrane domain, and each one of them will have a cytoplasmic domain or catalytic domain. I have drawn the picture earlier, so if you want, I can draw it once again. With slight differences here and there, but the commonality is there. So this is the membrane. And then you'll have a like this. You have a ligand binding domain, you have a transmembrane domain, and then you have a, this is transmembrane domain, and you have a catalytic domain or cytoplasmic domain, which has got the enzymatic activity, right? So structurally, there are common features in them. 3 of them are monomers, and receptor, insulin growth factor receptor, it is the only receptor which is dimer. Okay. Now, what is the mechanism? Let us understand the next is mechanism. Okay. So as I said, the type 1, that is epidermal growth factor receptor, has been studied deeply. So we have a better understanding of it. So it is about type 1 epidermal growth factor receptor. It is about 1200 amino acid single polypeptide. Hmm, 1200 amino acid single polypeptide, and it binds to epidermal growth factor, which is a small molecular weight protein. Epidermal growth factor is around 53 residue. Epidermal growth factor, EGF, 53 amino acid long protein. Matlab around 5.5 kilodalton, approximately 5.5 kilodalton protein. So this epidermal growth factor, which is produced in your body, will then exert its effect by binding to this specific receptor, which is type 1 epidermal growth factor receptor. And then what is the sequence? You know, it will activate the tyrosine kinase in the catalytic domain by phosphorylating it, and that activated tyrosine kinase in turn will phosphorylate target protein, specific proteins, which will then differentiate, which will then mediate cell differentiation growth. So what was found out is that when, if you want, you can write down when the ligand binds to receptor, what does it do? It causes dimerization. Means what? Dimerization means the 2 receptors will come close to each other. two type 1 receptors, two adjacent type 1 receptors. Okay. So let's say, let me draw it here. Let's say these are the two type 1 receptors. Okay, so these are the two type 1 adjacent receptors. As soon as the ligand comes and binds, this is the ligand binding site. Ligand is what? Epidermal growth factor, about a 5.5 kilodalton protein. So it will come and bind here. So as soon as it binds, what does it do? It causes dimerization. That means these two receptors, adjacent receptors, will move closer to each other. अब ये monomer दिखाई दे रहा है. जब ligand bind होगा, तो it will become a dimer. Two will come close to each other. Okay, and then once they come close to each other, the one receptor will cause phosphorylation of tyrosine residues in the other, in the adjacent one, and the other one will cause phosphorylation of tyrosine residues in the first one. Okay, so dimerization is followed by autophosphorylation. Autophosphorylation. Autophosphorylation, I am repeating once again, these two receptors which have come close together, close to one another after binding of the ligand, will then phosphorylate tyrosine residues in the other receptor. This one, agar मान लीजिए this is 1, so and this is 2. So 1 will autophosphorylate tyrosine residues in 2, and 2 will phosphorylate tyrosine residues in 1. Okay, and after autophosphorylation, the tyrosine kinase gets activated. What are the sites of phosphorylation? You know, the sites of phosphorylation are amino acid, tyrosine. There are about 5 of them in the C terminus and in the cytoplasmic domain. So they will undergo phosphorylation. So tyrosine kinase gets activated, and then this activated tyrosine kinase will in turn phosphorylate target protein. So if you want, you can write down the next in this is tyrosine kinase in turn will phosphorylate target proteins, and the target protein, the phosphorylated target protein in turn will mediate cell differentiation and growth, cell growth, right? So this is the mechanism that after binding of the ligand, these two will come closer to each other, form a dimer. And in the dimer, each monomer will phosphorylate the tyrosine residues in the other monomer. Okay, so there will be cross phosphorylation, and those phosphorylated tyrosine kinase, activated tyrosine kinase in turn will activate target proteins which are responsible for specific cell differentiation and cell growth. Okay, the question that comes in our mind is how, let me how does it identify the target protein? It's a very important question. How will it, of the several proteins that are available in the cytoplasm, how does it identify specific target proteins which are responsible for epidermal growth factor mediated cell differentiation and epidermal growth factor mediated cell growth? So very important question, and what people have found out is that those phosphorylated tyrosine so we have just seen that The binding of epidermal growth factor results in dimerization and followed by cross phosphorylation. The site of phosphorylation being specific tyrosine residues. So those phosphorylated tyrosine residues are identified by the target protein. See the beauty. So target protein will identify those phosphorylated tyrosine at the cytoplasmic domain of those receptors. And these target proteins are also found to have a conserved region. All the target proteins of epidermal growth factor receptors, they have been found to have conserved region called SH2 domains. Conserved means what? In all the target proteins of epidermal growth factor receptor, there is a region in the target protein which is same. Therefore, we call it as a conserved region, and that is identified as SH2 domain, where the amino acid sequence is same because all of them are going to be activated by receptor tyrosine kinase. So using this conserved region, using this conserved domain, they will identify the activated receptor tyrosine kinase type 1 epidermal growth factor receptor. So they will go and bind over there, and after binding to it, they will undergo phosphorylation. And once phosphorylated, they will leave, and then they will mediate cell differentiation and growth. So it's a beautiful mechanism, okay, and very well executed, very nicely done. So now you understand that these growth factors are responsible for cell differentiation and growth, right? So if there is a mutation in any receptor tyrosine kinase or any of its components, then what is going to happen? If there is a mutation, I'm repeating, in any of those receptor tyrosine kinase or components which participate in it, what is going to happen? Please understand that receptor tyrosine kinases are responsible for cell differentiation and growth. So if there is a mutation, what is going to happen? There will be uncontrolled cell differentiation and growth. And what is uncontrolled cell differentiation and growth? Uncontrolled cell differentiation and growth is nothing but cancer. So mutation in any of the receptor tyrosine kinases or components which participate in this particular cascade can lead to abnormal cell growth and differentiation, leading to what is called as cancer. Okay. So we have cancer causing genes are also called as oncogenes, right? So let me give you 2-3 examples of these oncogenes. Please remember that these oncogenes are of viral origin. Viral origin means they come from viruses. So what does it mean? It means that we have a cellular counterpart, okay, and virus also has a counterpart of these receptor tyrosine kinases, but it is altered, it is mutant. So when a virus infects your body, when it infects a particular type of cell, these particular genes, they will get expressed, and you will have those mutant receptor tyrosine kinases or their components, resulting into uncontrolled growth and differentiation, leading to cancer. Okay, so let us understand some 2-3 genes. I'm giving you 2-3 examples. If you want, you can write it down. There is a gene called SRC. SRC gene. What is its origin? Its origin is Rous sarcoma virus. This gene is present in Rous sarcoma virus. This gene in virus, it is many times, represented as V with the prefix V. VSRC means the gene from viral origin. To differentiate it from the gene which is present in our cells, that is called as CSRC. Cytoplasmic CSRC means cellular, the one which is present in our body. CSRC means cellular, V means viral. Okay, so what is the difference? As I said, this CSRC codes for receptor tyrosine kinase, normal. Okay, but the VSRC, it also codes for receptor tyrosine kinase, but it is not the normal receptor tyrosine kinase, it is mutant. Okay, and as a result of that, it is responsible for uncontrolled growth and cell differentiation, leading to what is called as cancer. So SRC is called as VSRC is called as an oncogene. Similarly, you can have an example of SIS. This SIS gene, it comes from simian sarcoma virus. It also codes for receptor tyrosine kinase, right? There is a gene called ERBB. ERBB. This gene, it comes from ERBB. It comes from avian erythroblastosis. Avian erythroblastosis virus. Okay, you can always, for the sake of understanding, you can always prefix it by V. V means it is of viral origin and C means it is of cellular origin. Okay, so they code for what? This ERBB codes for growth factor ligand. So the CERBB will code for normal growth factor, whereas the VERBB, which comes from a virus, will code for an abnormal growth factor. So when an abnormal growth factor binds, it is going to lead to uncontrolled cell differentiation and growth, leading to cancer. So these are some of the examples of oncogenes. So cancer is just not caused by these oncogenes. Cancer can also be caused by mutation in RAS protein, RAS. RAS proteins. Cancer can also be caused by mutation in RAS proteins. So in our body, we have three types of RAS proteins. We have what is called as HRAS, KRAS, and NRAS. Okay, each is about 21 kilodalton, and each can exist between a GTP cycle, GTP form, and GDP form. GTP form is active, whereas GDP form is inactive. Okay, so this GTP form, the active one, it mediates what is called as, it mediates cell differentiation and growth. Right? So these are members of these proteins. RAS proteins are members of GTPase protein family, small GTPase protein family, small GTPase protein family. Okay, so how do they exist in two forms? Let me tell you that also quickly. So you have RAS GDP. It will be RAS GTP. Okay, and this is active. This will be responsible for differentiation and growth, but it doesn't remain active all the time. There is a protein called GAP, guanyl nucleotide activating protein called GAP. Guanyl nucleotide activating protein. What does it do? It hydrolyzes the GTP to GDP. So it will come back to its original state. Okay, and it goes in this particular cycle. What happens when you get a viral RAS? This viral RAS, once activated, VRAS, once activated, it is very difficult to hydrolyze the GTP. So it remains in the active form. Normally what happens? It goes back to its inactive form, but the viral RAS protein doesn't, the GTP doesn't get hydrolyzed, so it remains in active form and leads to abnormal uncontrolled differentiation and growth leading to cancer. So this is all in receptor tyrosine kinases.